Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from group 7. I'm Dhita Raissa Fadhila and my friend
Bherti Yustisia.
here we will explain about procedures of translation. We hope you enjoy the topics.
Okay, translation definition. Translation in an effort of finding equivalent meaning of a text into the second language. We emphasize meaning equivalence. Sign in translation meaning is the object to be withdrawn from the source language text into the target language text. In this case, translation is fed with a text as a unit of meaning in the form of sets of word or sentence. Procedure of translation. The strategies in translation features according to Newmark 1988, translation procedures are used in a smaller unit of language. The difference between translation procedure or strategies with method is translation method focus on the whole text, while translation strategies focus on the smaller units such as word and sentence. Prosedur of translation ada 22 pembahasan, saya akan membahas setengah dan Dita Raissa akan membahas setengah. Yang pertama, transference, 2 borrowing, 3 cultural equivalent, 4 functional equivalent, 5 descriptive equivalent, 6 sinonim, 7 short translation, 8 transposition, 9 modulation, 10 recognized translation, dan 11 translation label. Okay. First, transference. Transference is the process of transferring SL or search language word to TL or target language text as a translation procedure. Transference can be called as a loan word. There are two types of transference: transliteration and naturalization. Transliteration focuses on the transfers of different alphabets, and naturalization focuses on the transfers of pronunciation and word form of the TL. Newmark, 1988. 2. Borrowing. The procedure aims to introduce the CL cultural flavor to TL text. When the SL has new technical terms or unknown concept, borrowing is the existing procedure to translate them. This procedure never changes its lexical word meaning, that the word stays effectively the same as SL. For instance, food names tequila and tortillas will stay exactly the same in TL to keep the cultural flavor. Finney and Darbonet, 1995. 3. Cultural equivalent. Cultural equivalent is a translation depending on the cultural site. It is an approximate translation from SL cultural word and translate to the TL cultural word. This type of strategy is quite hard to maintain the level of accuracy because every culture has its own specific meaning that is different in other cultures. Mark, 1988. 4. Functional equivalent. This procedure aims to deculturize a cultural word. It is used for cultural word which then change into cultural free word. Functional equivalent sometimes use new specific term that naturalize the CL word. This procedure stands in the middle of CL and TL word, which means that it uses universal word to translate SL word. Mark, 1988. 5. Descriptive equivalent. The aim of descriptive equivalent is the same with functional equivalent, which to deculturize cultural word. The difference is that descriptive equivalent describes cultural word to make it neutral and understandable for TL readers. The example is the word "rayok". When it is translated to English, it becomes traditional dance originally from East Java, Indonesia. 6. Synonym. Synonym is a procedure is translation that find the closest TL equivalent to a SL word. This procedure is used when a precise equivalent may or may not exist and when there is no one-to-one equivalent. Synonym is appropriate the when literal translation is not possible and because the word is not important in a particular adjective or adverbs. Neimark 1988. 7. Translation. This procedure translates common collocation, organization name, and sometimes paras. It can also be called as loan translation. Vinay and Darboon called this procedure as call which a special borrowing, where is a language it translates literally. This procedure mostly used in translate international organization or any organization names for instance policy academic in translation into academic population. 8. Transposition. Transposition involves the change of grammatical structure of SL to TL in NIDA. This procedure is called as alteration. This procedure aims to naturalize TL text with its own grammatical structure. It could be the change of word class, such as SL verb try is translated as usaha, and TL which is TL noun, the change plural from in SL, such as those books are interesting, is translated into buku-buku itu menarik. The grammatical structure in SL that does not exist in TL, for instance, the usage of past tense in English to bahasa. 9. Modulation. Modulation is a procedure which involves the change of perspective. This procedure is used when the TL disapproves literally translation. When translating a text with this procedure, the translation uses the change of point of view but still holds the actual meaning. The example of modulation is the paras "you're a stranger" can be translated with modulation procedure as "aku tidak mengenalmu". 10. Recognized translation. Recognized translation is the term for a translation using official TL that has been made. This procedure uses the accept translation of any institutional term. In Indonesia, this procedure of translation uses a good book, which is called Pedoman Pengindonesiaan Nama dan Kata Asing. For instance, the word flatware is translated as "Berhenti makan perak" in the book. 11. Translation level. Translation level is a procedure which is used to translate new institutional term in SL. It is a temporary translation of the SL word. Since it is a temporary translation, the translation needs to use inverted commas to translation new institutional terms. These new terms can be done with literally translation. For example, promosi atau kenaikan pangkat is translation as social advancement in TL.
I will continue the explanation of procedure of translation from my friend. Dan saya akan menjelaskan 11 lagi sisanya. 12, we have compensation, componential analysis, reduction and expansion, paraphrase, couplet, notes, literal, equivalence, adaptation, addition, and the last one, subtraction. So I'll go first with compensation. Compensation is used when loss of meaning in the SL is compensated in TL. Newmark, 1988. This procedure aims to get the naturals of TL. Vinay and Darbelnet, 1995, added that this procedure is used when a word in SL can be translated in the same place in TL. For example, SL praise, a pair of scissors, is translated in TL as pasang gunting. 13. Componential analysis. This procedure involves a comparison activity between SL word and TL word, which both have the same meaning, but the meaning does not have the obvious equivalency. This procedure is similar to descriptive equivalent. The difference is that descriptive equivalent aims to deculturizing cultural words, while componential analysis is for general and common words. In the componential analysis, the SL word is translated to TL by detailing the component of the meaning in SL. Newmark, 1988. 14. Reduction and expansion. These procedures are imprecise translation procedures. Newmark, 1988. Reduction is a depreciation of the ESL where some of SL word components are removed, whereas expansion add components to the SL in the TL. The example of reduction is the word ikan paus in SL is translated as well in TL, vice versa. 15. Paraphrase. Paraphrase is an explanation of a word in TL. This procedure adds more details to particular word. It is used when the word is anonymous or has specific meaning. Newmark, 1988. The example of paraphrase is the word Ramadan is translated into Ramadan, the Muslim month of fasting. 16. Couplet. This procedure combines more than one above-mentioned procedure in a single problem. It can be couplets, triplets, quadruplets, and so on. The examples is when using transference and functional or cultural equivalent at once. Newmark, 1988. The word tortillas in SL can be translated into tortillas roti pipih tanpa ragi in TL. It combines procedure transference and descriptive equivalent. 17. Notes. These procedures add additional information to the TL. The additional information is done with the consideration of clarity of meaning. It can be placed in the bottom of the text or footnote, at the end of the text or sentence, or at the end of the book or glossary. Notes can be used to translate cultural words or technical terms by Newmark, 1988. 18. Literal. These procedures aim to translate SL into a grammatically and idiomatically appropriate in a TL. Literal translation is called word for word translation, meaning that the translation will be the same. This procedure is commonly used for a language that shares the same culture to the other's language, such as French and Italian. Literal translation will stick to the SL culture without adapting to SL culture. By Vinay and Dalbarnet, 1995. 19. Equivalence. These procedures aim to get a great equivalence in certain situation. The same situation can be translated using a different structure method but still have a great equivalence. For example, in this they use the word ouch to portray somebody gets hurt. That word can be translated as aduh in Indonesia to portray the same situation by Vinay and Darbainet, 1995. 20. Adaptation. This procedure is used when there are some message in SL that is unknown in TL culture. Adaptation is also called a situational equivalence where the translators need to create another situation in TL that can be equivalent as the SL. These procedures aim to get the naturalness in translating SL to TL by Vinay and Dalbernett, 1995. 21. Addition. Addition is used for several reasons. First is to fill out elliptical expression. The second one is obligatory expression. This third reason is also used when the translators want to change direct into indirect process or vice versa. The fourth one is the change of implicit to explicit status or vice versa. The fifth one is as connectives. It is used as translational to make TL easier to understand. When using additional as connectivities, the translators should not add more information. By Nida, 1964. And the last, subtraction. In the process of translating, subtraction is one of the important aspects. There are several aspects in using subtraction. The first one is when there is repetition. The second one is when a sentence has too much conjunction and translational. Jadi untuk penjelasan prosedur of translation cukup sampai di sini. Untuk kesimpulannya akan disampaikan oleh teman saya.
Conclusion. Translation is an attempt to find the equivalent meaning of a text into a second language. Translation procedures are used in a smaller unit of a language. The difference between translation procedure or strategies with method is translation methods focus on the full text, while translation strategies focus on the smaller unit such as word and sentence.
Okay,
That's all from us. Thank you for watching. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.